So, Dennis, what are the advantages to hiring a personal injury attorney when it comes to car accidents?
Well, Miranda, the clear advantage is that we have done this for many, many years. And I myself have handled over 10,000 automobile accident cases. And a client who's involved in an accident really is in a crisis situation for the first couple of weeks, probably. They're injured. Very often they don't have access to a car. Their finances are really turned upside down because they don't know if they can get to work, and if they can get to work, they don't know if they can do the job. And often, depending upon the severity of the injury, the insurance company or the doctor that they're treating will ask them to take time off from work. And so they have financial issues, paying their rent, paying their mortgage, taking care of their kids. So that first 10 days to 2 weeks is very difficult, and a lot of times the decisions that they will make vis-a-vis the insurance companies calling them, and decisions about property damage, and decisions about whether I should go to a doctor and who should I see, all of those things are things that we do just as a matter of a routine type checklist to make sure that everything is covered.
You know, a lot of people, I think, are hesitant to hiring a personal injury attorney because they worry about the money, but oftentimes you're going to get a larger settlement. I mean, most cases, right?
I don't think I've seen in 35 years 5 cases where someone handling their own case wound up with more money in their pocket at the end of the case than if they would have hired our firm.
So what should someone do if he or she is watching, has been involved in a car accident? What should that person do if they're interested in hiring a personal injury attorney from your law firm?
Well, they should call Dell & Schaefer. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We actually have secretarial staff here till 9, sometimes 10 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday. You'll always speak to an attorney, even if it goes through our answering service. An attorney will call you back, will speak to you. You won't speak to an investigator, and you won't speak to a staff member. You'll speak to a lawyer. And in a very short conversation, we can give you a very good idea in that first phone call what we can do for you and how we're going to go about doing it. And I think that provides a great deal of peace and a great deal of ease for someone who's just gone through a traumatic experience like an automobile accident.
And there's no cost to doing that, right?
No, there's no cost. We operate strictly on contingent fees. And what that means is the contingency is if we're successful, we get paid. If we're not successful, we don't. And that not only relates to fees, but it also relates to costs. Any of the costs that we expend in handling a case, we will not charge a client if we're unsuccessful.
Dennis, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Tony Dowson. I'm Senior Environmental Health Officer at the City Council. Environmental health officers cover a range of public health concerns from, we do noise control, so something in the region of 12,000 noise complaints a year, right through to housing, hoarders, rubbish, rats, and of course complaints about hazardous substances and things like asbestos. Our role is specifically around providing information to the community on how best to protect themselves, but we also do regulation work. Most of you may be familiar with the role of environmental health officers around food and hotels and things like that. But it's a very wide brief, but tonight we're just really going to limit it to talking about asbestos and mould. So I'll take them one at a time, and as Sarah suggested, I'm happy to take questions at any time, but specifically at the end if you want to wait till then. Right, starting with asbestos, we have probably in the last 4 years done a big catch-up in Christchurch to the point now where our level of knowledge, if not comfort, around asbestos has improved. Our organisation and integration with other authorities is far advanced in 4 years than I'd ever anticipated. And we're contributing now to new regulations that are being formed as we speak. Those regulations might even require people that have asbestos in their home to be on a register in the future, so it's worth knowing. It's also worth knowing that it's a fairly widespread mineral substance. It's in two main forms, but and that is the serpentine asbestos, which we see in quite a range of household products. And soft furnishings, hard furnishings, wall linings, and we also see the more hazardous forms of asbestos, if there is such thing as more hazardous, because as we know, it's not really a dose-dependent thing. You can actually be affected on your first exposure to it. Having said that, the more you work with it, the greater your chances of having an asbestos-related issue later in life goes up. So if you're an electrician, say, and you're regularly crawling under houses or in attics or putting in downlights, you might be exposed to higher levels of asbestos dust. And it is the dust that we're most concerned about. We have all types of asbestos in Christchurch, ranging from the blue chrysidolite, which was used in building products for a long time, since the 1930s up to about the 1990s. Any houses that were built will have asbestos in one form or another. It might be anything from linoleum tiles through to cladding. It can be the pole light that goes on your garage or under the eaves of your house. You can't necessarily know that it's there just by looking at it and going, I think that might be asbestos. The only true way to know, of course, is to get it tested, and that's very much what we're recommending. A few years back, we wouldn't have had the same resources in laboratories to get the testing done, but now they're springing up everywhere. If you are going to get testing done, it's recommended that you use an accredited laboratory for that. I've got a pamphlet that I'll hand out at the end on removal of asbestos for the homeowner, and in that is advice on how to go about it yourself, but as I've been discussing with some of my colleagues, we're really getting to a point now where we're getting slightly uncomfortable with people doing their own asbestos work just to save money or a few dollars. It is a job for the professionals, and we would prefer that you go to the Google or the Yellow Pages and find a removalist that can actually undertake the work. But having said that, we have people, because there is such a range of asbestos within households, and it's estimated 40,000 homes in the Christchurch area will have asbestos in one form or another, that you're going to come across it sooner or later, and you may want to, I don't know, put in a downlight, and so you're putting yourself right under the area where the dust will fall if you're using a hole saw or a drill, and it's in that more fibrous or dust, the dust falling on you may well expose you at that point. From that point of view, yes, you can wear a mask and you wear all the equipment, but why put yourself in that position in the first place when for $100 you can get a test from one of the reputable companies and at least know what you're dealing with. Asbestos has been around for as long as people have been around, but the study of disease related to asbestos goes right back to ancient times, and even the Greeks were discovering that people were getting terrible coughs, and I guess in those days they didn't have the same life expectancy where we see a 30-year latency period for, say, mesothelioma or some of those other asbestos-related diseases. But over time, the occupational thresholds have dropped, and we're now down to the knowledge that even a single fibre can get into your lungs. So with some of the types of asbestos, the small fibres bypass all of the defences of the body, the nasal hairs, the mucus and so forth, travel directly to your lungs and irritate the lungs, and it may form a cancer sooner or later, but often the disease, is a slowly progressive one, where little protein balls form on the end of each part of the asbestos particle, and eventually build up until a matrix or a mat is formed, and breathing is affected that way. So over the course of 30 years, it can gradually diminish your life. A very big concern, but as I said initially, it's really people who are working with it all the time that have